fellow book nerds, this is Gabby, and today we have some spooky recommendations. Did I just lose my voice somewhere there? Okay, so hello to my first Halloween themed video, and today I'm gonna be giving you some recommendations, some horror recommendations from a girl who is scared of everything, and also, so yeah, it's basically books that are horror but for cowards, as in I could handle it, so probably you can handle it as well. So that's kind of the idea for today, but the thing is, because I'm a coward, I've not really read that many horror books. I've read some, especially this year. I've been on such a kick. But still, my list was kind of not coming together quite to the number I was hoping. So I decided that we're gonna kind of pair each recommendation from book I've read with one book that I want to read. So it's kind of like horror recommendations plus TBR. Hopefully you like the idea and we can kick it off, and you can always tell me more horror books I should read, because clearly expert I am not. Well, I was trying to kind of make sense that I want to read plus recommendations. So a lot of them actually, it's actually one author that I already read a book from that I think is gonna make, and the other book is gonna be also amazing. So it's a lot of authors, but it's some books that are not related to each other, they're connected. So we can all see how it comes together. So my first recommendation is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. That's accurate. So Stephen Graham Jones is a Native American author. Appropriately, his book follows a Native American community. So we follow a group of men who did something bad years ago and now it's come back to haunt them. And it's a very surrealist, very strange story. It has elk in it. I guess it has probably some animal cruelty. I guess it's very visceral. I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was bonkers at first. I really wasn't sure what I was reading, and it felt so disjointed, and just the character just appeared somewhere all of a sudden where we were in a completely different scene, and it felt insane. But I must say, I think there is a method to the insanity, and in the end I kind of did see where the author was going and what he was trying to do. And with the disjointed scenes, you could argue that that's how the characters saw the situation, because they were not in the right frame of mind. I think overall the writing was really good to what I was trying to do, and overall I really enjoyed this book. I would highly recommend. I had a really good time with it. It just had this very honest, visceral, it was pretty gross, it was pretty graphic, it went absolutely insane places. So if you like a bit of paranormal in your horror, I would say this one's very good. Wouldn't say I was so scared that I couldn't read it, but there were moments where I was really uncomfortable and needed to take a pause. So if you need to do that as well, that's completely fine. I don't think there's a problem with that. And yeah, it's just such a good book, and I would highly recommend it. Now, to pair this book, a book I really want to read is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. So I read the full synopsis, and I still did not know what this book was about, but I just knew that I liked the other book, so I'm gonna read this one. But I was reading this article from Goodreads where they were having an interview with the author, and they were like, okay, summarize your new book in a couple of sentences, and I think this is actually easier to understand. So I'm gonna read you this. What if you're a social outcast at your high school? You feel like the only horror fan in your whole state. Your home life's no picnic, and your high mountain town that is the site of a camp massacre 30 years ago. What you do then, obviously, is pray and pray at the altar of Craven or Carpenter for a slasher to come to your town. And when those horror gods smile on you, you get not only a slasher, but a real, true, finer girl as well. If your heart's not a chainsaw already, it's going to have to be if you want to survive. So what I'm hearing is a final girl's story, which I've been on such a kick for final girls because of the next book that I'm going to recommend to you. But it's just I really love the idea that it's final girls. I think it's also a Native American teen, and it's all about movie buffs and loving movies and loving horror movies especially, and wanting to live in that world, which, okay, each to their own, I guess. I really want to read this book. It's a new release, I think, and it just sounds so good, doesn't it? Okay, I kind of spoiled the next book for you, but it is Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So this book is kind of a spin on 80s, 90s slasher, like camp horror movies. So in this, we follow a bunch of final girls. So if you don't know what a final girl is in like these old slasher movies, there would be one final character that survives the murderer and has like a standoff with them, and usually they survive the whole movie. Usually it's a girl, usually she's virginal and probably not equipped to deal with murderer, but oh well, somehow she outsmarts him at every turn, or like does something to survive. So in this book, the final girls are kind of real, and each of them survived a massacre that's kind of reminiscent of movies that we've seen, like Night on Elm Street, Scream, I don't know that many, but other ones. And each of them survived a night like that, and they're a final girl. So they have formed this support group where all of them go to visit each other once a month and talk about their shared trauma. They have been meeting for years. They're all, I think, mostly in like their 30s or 40s now. And I think what's interesting about this book is that each of the women has developed their own coping strategy and their own way of processing what happened to them and also dealing with it. So, for example, the main character, whose perspective we follow, she became like a survivalist, super paranoid, like really good in martial arts, firearms, all of that, just super paranoid. But other ones want to let go, other ones to help, other women want to help other women who heal. So it's interesting how each of them kind of approached it. And the big plot is that now there's been murder in the group, and the main character thinks that someone wants to get rid of all of the final girls. So I really, really enjoyed this book. I actually listened to it as an audiobook, and I thought it was a really solid like performance, a really fun time. I loved it. It did remind me of like horror slashers. It definitely had that very fast-paced type of horror rather than a ghost, which what I find particularly scary. I don't necessarily find slashers scary. I just think like gory things don't really bother me that much. They're gross, but I'm not like bothered, but it's mostly like ghosts that really bother me and really scare me. So it's more like the paranormal, but I still found it super engaging, super high stakes, very high energy, very interesting book with interesting plot, good plot twist. And I think if you're a fan of the genre especially, then it's really good for that, because I had a lot of fun, couldn't put it down, love the audiobook, so definitely check that one out. There you go. So I kind of want to read all of Grady Hendrix books. So the second book that I really want to read from his arsenal, I guess, would be The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, again by Grady Hendrix. This book's, the synopsis said, fried green tomatoes and steel magnolias meet Dracula in the southern-flavored supernatural thriller set in the 90s about a woman's book club that must protect its suburban community from a mysterious and handsome stranger who turns out to be a blood-sucking fiend. So yeah, this was about, I think, like a suburbia middle-aged woman who have to fight a vampire. It's a book club fighting vampires. I don't know that much about it, but it sounds very fun. It sounds a little like Final Girls, just pulling on a lot of tropes and making it a bit ridiculous, but while also making it super fun. I really am looking forward to that one. I'm very excited, and I think I'm going to be buddy reading with Hanan at some point. Also vampires. I need some more good vampire books in my life. So my next recommendation would be Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix. I told you I'm reading all of his books. So this book is actually the first one that I've ever read from this author, and it's a very interesting premise. So basically, the book is designed like an IKEA catalog, and it's absolutely bonkers. Like, it's hard to explain how well it's done if you don't have the physical book. I got it from the library and it was so fun. Like I said, it's designed like an IKEA catalog, so you have pages for different furniture, and then the descriptions, all of that, and then you have like the script, like the actual book going on, and it kind of intercepts with that. And the reason for this is because the whole book is set at like a fake IKEA store, and we follow a bunch of employees who are asked to stay overnight and have like look over the store because there's been break-ins and vandalism in the store, and it basically turns into like night full of nightmares. And this one's very graphic and gory as well. Again, didn't bother me too much, but maybe if you're not into that, But yeah, it has torture devices, ghosts, all kinds of things. It was a wild ride. I really loved this book. The only thing I would say, it was a bit too short because actually what you get with the IKEA catalog style is just so little actual words on the page. Because like half, like, okay, it's big like this, but a third of the page is just empty to make it look like a catalog. So it was like really short. I'm sure when you actually look at the pages and the word count, it's a very, very, very short book. So I just felt like we could have done with more, but overall I really did enjoy it, and I love the spookiness of it. That was before I even like enjoyed horror at all, so I wasn't sure if it would be for me, but I totally really loved it. I love the wacky concept of it, and the execution I really liked as well. So I would really recommend this one. I think it's super fun. And the book that I really want to read, paired with this one, would be My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. You guessed it. So this book is set in the 80s, I believe. So this is what it says. Abby and Gretchen have been best friends since 5th grade, when they bonded over a shared love of E.T., roller skating parties, and scratch and sniff stickers. But when they arrive at high school, things change. Gretchen begins to act different. And as the strange coincidences and bizarre behavior starts to pile up, Abby realizes there's only one possible explanation. Gretchen, her favorite person in the world, has a demon living inside her. Of course. And Abby is not about to let anyone or anything come between her and her best friend. With help from some unique allies, Abby embarks on a quest to save Gretchen. But is their friendship powerful enough to beat the devil? So yeah, these are two best friends. One is possessed, and as per title, it's my best friend's exorcism. So I just find it so funny, and like I love Grady Hendrix's concepts. I love that a lot of the books are set in the 80s or 90s. I love the wacky titles. He just comes up with the most interesting concepts and really delivers on them. So I'm sure I'll have a great time. I'm really excited to read that one. It also has a really cool cover. Like, he just has a lot of cool things going on for him. Okay, and the next book I wanted to recommend to you is Horrid by Katrina Leno. So this book is a short story, or like a novella. It's pretty thin book, but I listened to it as an audiobook as well. In this book, we follow a mother and daughter whose, well, husband slash father recently passed away, and he had a lot of debts, so left them really in a really tough spot. So because of that, they have to live their life, I think in California, and they have to move all the way to where the mother grew up, which is the super tiny town in this really, this very weird, strange, super tiny little town with very weird neighbors. Everyone's treating the mother and daughter a bit weird, and it's very clear to the daughter that mother has a lot of secrets. And the house is just super creepy. The daughter keeps hearing like strange noises, can swear someone's there when she's home alone, and there's just a lot that she has to cope with. And on top of that, she has, well, it's never said, but I think you would classify as having pica, so she eats books. So every time she's stressed, she rips out the page, swallows it, and that really calms her down. Eating is a very big theme in this book, so I don't know if that's not for you. It's like very weird type of eating, basically pica, but I immensely enjoyed this book. I love the ending of it, I love the creepiness, I love the ghosts, I love the mystery. It just all worked, and I really like how short and succinct it was. I really like the supporting characters, I like the main character. I just think the whole history and the story was super fascinating, and again, the ending had me in a chokehold. Like, I love the ending, and I think it was very appropriate but very creepy, and I just like, I have to support that, and I have to respect that. So the book that I want to read is Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. So this book is, I think, another short story. It's like on the shorter book side, so I thought there'd be a good pairing, but this is a brand new release. I think it only came out either last month or something, and it's the story of 5 childhood friends coming together to celebrate the marriage between 2 of their numbers. Unfortunately, their venue of choice is an allegedly haunted manor, and that they absolutely shouldn't be in. Needless to say, bad things happen. So that's again like the author's description from that interview. The cover has me, I'm sold basically, and I think it's by the author, maybe Japanese, or I might be making that up, but I think it has something to do with like ghosts. And my last recommendation is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. So in this book we follow Emmanuel, who lives in this super Puritan, conservative and religious community, and she actually is raised by her grandmother because her mother passed away at childbirth. And we kick off when Emmanuel starts sensing or finding out some things about her mother and the fact that she might have been connected to the witches from the woods. So I love this book. I thought it was really, really well done concept of super Puritan, like almost a cult, and the witches, the spookiness, really, really unsettling. Very, very well done. The woods were just like a character in its own. I love the witches, the weirdness, the grossness, all of it really, really worked. So I would really highly recommend this book. This is actually a duology, I think, so if you're into that kind of thing. I don't know, maybe if you're a horror buff that doesn't have enough series in their lives, well, there you go. You can read this one. Holding books with these gloves is actually very, very challenging. Okay, and the last book I want to read is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. So this one sounds fascinating. So from the words of the author, Jane wants a marriage of convenience, and local doctor Augustine Lawrence fits her requirements perfectly. Even his need to return to his ancestral home outside of town every night without her. But when a storm forces her to take shelter at the crumbling mansion on their wedding night, she is tipped into the world of ghosts, secret societies, and madness. Traditional gothic horror meets bloody surgeries and mind-bending magic. I'm so excited about this book. So I think this book is coming in October, and ever since I talked about it in my October releases video, it's just had me obsessed. I can't stop thinking about this book. I don't know what it is. The cover is just amazing, but I just keep thinking about it and I'm so obsessed and I don't understand why. I want to read this book so bad. But what the hell about the pricing? It's £20 for a physical copy. £20! I'm getting the ebook for £11, you know, half off. I would say that's pretty good. But maybe I'll love it and then I'll be so sad I don't have it. I don't know. I'm very confused. I just love the sound of it. I thought it really fit with the Year of the Witching in it because bloody, spells, witches or whatever, ghosts, it all fits together. Okay, that's it for my horror recommendations. I really hope you got something out of this. I am really excited to read the ones that I said I am gonna read. I'm really excited for you to read all the ones I told you to read. Let me know if you're a horror person. I don't even know, because I don't really talk about horror on my channel, so I don't know why you'd be here. But maybe you are. So let me know some of your recommendations, some horror I really need to read. I mean, you saw what I was talking about, so you know my taste. So I'm sure you can nail it, but I would really, really appreciate it. I'm so excited for Halloween. I mean, it's like ages till Halloween, but I'm just bloody excited. And I was so excited to dress up and stuff. And I don't know what my hair is doing, but it's doing its thing. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. If you could like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. I really, really, really would appreciate it. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!